Chapter 9. Presently, Defeat. Late night. I'm tailing a girl in a carriage. While the North God style is a swordsmanship school, some factions of it also taught tailing techniques. Not only tailing visible targets, but also tracking the target from the leftover clues. There are also techniques for hiding and sneak attacks, and to run straight up a wall. Even though Shisho's from a different faction, he's versed in all of the techniques, since he's at the pinnacle of the North God style. Shisho used to hate techniques outside of his faction, but he seemed to change his mind after fighting Father, and was happy to teach me. In any case, the carriage circled the Magic University for a while, and eventually arrived before the mansion of a high noble. A giant house. Someone with a house this big might be a friend of Father. With that in mind, I decide to separate from the carriage and infiltrate the mansion. The mansion is heavily guarded. There are probably many things worth stealing in a large mansion like this. However, I'm versed in North God style infiltration techniques. I don't know why such a technique exists in a swordsman school, but I was trained in it along with the tailing technique, which came in handy. How nostalgic. Back then, Shisho took me along and sneaked into various places. Noble mansions, trading houses, the mercenary armory. With some help from the Ranoa Knights, we even slipped past noble escorts. By the way, the most secure location in town is the girls' dormitory at Magic University. It's guarded by Father's rude mercenary corps. The beast race and demon race girls that lived there also form their own patrol within. While the girls are not professionals, the beast race have sensitive noses, and the demon race have other ways to identify people. With students from all over the world, there are even some with demon eyes. Quite literally, eyes all over the place. However, there are ways to deceive the nose and demon eyes, and demons are easy to deal with if you know their racial characteristics. That's why I managed to sneak into the mansion with the ease of water through a colander. Looking around the inside of the mansion from the ceiling, I found people rushing to and fro, making preparations to welcome the bride. Whether from the maid's clothes or the ingredients and seasoning, you can see that this is a wealthy household. Yes, extremely wealthy. I collected some intel before coming today and knew that this is a noble family that has been a moneylender for many generations. They earned a huge fortune by lending to the Magic Guild and magic tool workshops, even before the city's founding. Among the Ranoa Kingdom's wealthiest. The head of this house is greedy and lustful. He lends money to poor nobles and merchants in need of money, then marries their daughters for collateral. Quite cunning. Never the eldest daughter, but the second or third daughter. Even if initially reluctant, the parents would eventually, if that's so, and hand over their daughter. For poor nobles, it's difficult to find a marriage partner for their second or third daughters regardless. The daughter will be happier to marry someone with money. Excuses like that. On the surface, there's nothing wrong with this. It does not violate the law. It can be said that he's only helping an impoverished acquaintance. There are many such marriages in the world. But the head of the house here has already married 7 wives. Like collecting women. That is a villain. I found him in the bedroom. I knew it was him right away. He's in his 40s or 50s, a fat body about as long as it is wide. A villain right out of a storybook. There's no mistake. A hero of justice does not judge people by their appearance. However, it's indisputable that with food so costly in the north, only the wealthy could afford to put on weight. And according to my sources, the household has no sons. There are other men in the house, but the only person lazy and rich enough to get fat would be him. If I'm wrong here, I would not believe in money anymore. Today's wedding day. Expensive clothes. Bring the most expensive clothes. Sweating despite not doing much in particular, he ordered a steward-looking man. The room was scattered with enough clothes to dress a large tree, while the butler folded them one by one. Master, rather than expensive clothes, why don't you do something about your waistline instead? Don't think I won't fire you. Anyhow, I don't think expensive clothes would make much of a difference. Listen, let me say it again. Today's a wedding day. She might be collateral, but bride is a bride. It's a day worth celebrating, and we need to welcome her properly into our house. The food needs to use expensive ingredients, and I must dress up as well. Making that effort is the duty of our household, but shrinking my waistline isn't. Sure. His words are boastful but sincere, the aesthetic of a villain, I suppose. Even if that aesthetic excludes doing something about his waistline. Anyways, I'm looking forward to it. The bride this time is especially young and beautiful. Such an innocent-looking thing. She probably doesn't know the ways of an adult yet, so put plenty of aphrodisiacs in her meal. Aphrodisiacs again. It's always going to happen anyways. Why not make it enjoyable for everyone involved? I can't listen anymore. This man seems to have his own aesthetics, but that girl is just an outlet for his libido to him, rather than welcoming her as a new family member, just as if you were buying a new horse and treating it as a tool. I thought randomly, if I'd married Sariel, would I be treated the same? Even if not Sariel herself, those around her might. Maybe that's why I'm against that marriage. Well, that has nothing to do with this. Let's go. Stop right there! My voice echoed through the room. Surprised by the noise, the fat noble and his butler scanned the room in confusion. Yo, pigface, you sex-crazed villain, doing evil deeds in the shadows. Even if you can hide from the sun, the eyes of the moon will find you. Pigface. Hearing that, the butler looked to his master suspiciously. The fat noble pursed his mouth and returned his butler's gaze, confused. What did you do, master? I wouldn't know even if I thought about it. Maybe it's you? If the two of us are together and someone would call me the fat pig, I'd like to meet him and check his special eyes. Ah, this reaction is different. How relaxed. Anyhow, pow! I kicked open the ceiling board, spinned, and landed into a high shelf in the room. And pose. The fat nobleman stood there dumbfounded, but the butler lowered his stance. This butler looks pretty tough. Who are you? Who hired you? The fat nobleman regained his composition and asked as if he's used to this. If you can say a line like this, you're probably targeted by assassins constantly. Even so, good question. I thought no one would ask this time. Haha, me? I am the knight of the silver moon which shines in the darkness. I responded to the question and posed. The ally of justice, Moon Knight, has arrived. The butler looked at the fat nobleman with a puzzled reaction. Why did everyone have the same reaction when I said that? Yet the fat nobleman sighed. Unusual. I guess ally of justice Moon Knight is his employer. I figured you won't tell your actual name or employer. But I did. Oh well. Villain, in this town I love, I can't forgive marriage just for money and lust. Against marriage? Are you an enemy of that house, or the daughter's suitor? Or maybe master's enemy? Why am I a villain with so few enemies? But still a villain. I see, so he's a so-called ally of justice. Hey you, let me give you some advice. I'll let you go this time, so leave. But if you touch me, you'll just regret it. Why the sudden advice, I have no idea. But I'm a friend of justice. I won't be persuaded by clever words from evil. Be quiet. I'm coming. I jumped off the shelf. At the same time, the butler pulled out his two thin and long daggers from his waist. He positioned himself before the fat nobleman to shield him. Apparently he wasn't just a butler, but also served as his escort. I sensed some considerable ability, but justice will never be defeated. Ha! Moonlight punch! Mysterious flow! Ow! Hearing his murmur, I quickly pulled back my hand and backstepped. At the same time, the butler rushed in. Even as I fell back, pain pulsed through my thigh. The butler's right-hand dagger drew a little bit of blood. Looked like a shallow cut to my thighs. So, you managed to dodge that. Too bad it's coated in poison. A cold sweat dripped down when I heard his words. He got me. Flow is a technique of the water sword style, a base counter that leads to all of the techniques of the water god. The water god style treats it as one of the most important techniques. That's why it's named mysterious. In fact, it's even said that even if it is a basic technique, at its extremes it can counter any attack. But today's different. I see. He made me vigilant with words alone and sneaked in a counter when I hesitated. Don't kill him, Loris. It's a festive day, so don't dirty it with blood. Capture him and squeeze his employer out of him. Once you know who hired him, money can take care of the rest. But this man is quite skillful. Going to be difficult to capture him alive. It's unusual for you to call someone skillful. If you can avoid that blow, it has to be skill. Full of confidence, that stab was proof enough. However, I sparred with various teachers before. Sword god style, North god style, water god style, even spear-wielding demon race warriors. A dual dagger-wielding opponent is difficult to handle. Daggers differ in speed from longswords. The timing and slashing trajectory is different. The overall range is small and there are few gaps. In general, swordsmen prefer longswords, using daggers only as sidearms. Although there are dagger techniques in the North god style, they do not use thin daggers like these. Dagger users. Assassin's Guild? Curses! Are you from the Assassin's Guild? Obviously, but that was before. Rough words, unlike his master. His knives gave away his origin. Only villains attack from the shadow. Moonlight kick! Before I noticed, the butler had already drawn close, to attack in the middle of a line. How devious. I dodged the butler's sneak attack and returned with a strike. Moonlight punch! The butler swiftly avoided it and drew his dagger in a single motion. The legs do not seem to move at all. An Assassin's Guild move. Drawing close before I realised, I'm already within his range. The rotation of the butler's attack does not stop. It is a terrible onslaught. Moonlight kick! Moonlight punch! Moonlight flip! But I've sparred with people from the Assassin's Guild before. Taking advantage of that experience, I handled the onslaught brilliantly. Moon! Ah! But I had little to spare. I couldn't land a hit between his dagger blows. He had a good range of movement, keeping at a distance where my fists can't reach, but his daggers could. My fists won't land, but his dagger sometimes scratched my body, bit by bit landing cuts. If the dagger is poisoned, I might not be able to move soon. Even though I'm bare-handed, this butler might be reaching king rank. Sometimes I want to use healing magic instead of attack, but there's no opportunity. However, I don't feel like my life's endangered. Well, with power like yours, why help the villain? I asked while keeping a distance. Men who belong to the Assassin's Guild rarely appear in public, not to mention this level of skill. Certainly not as a personal escort. The butler stopped with a stern face and glanced at the fat nobleman. Well, this guy isn't much of a villain. What? I don't know if you're moving under someone else's direction. I'm not following anyone else's instruction. I'm on the side of justice. I move on my own. Not the way I see it. The butler sped up. His feet blurred and moved in a disgusting manner. A dagger flew over. In an instant, my skin tore and pain shocked through my body. So strong. Did the fat nobleman not escape because of trust in his ability? Moonlight! I can't even shout my killer move anymore. Wearing down bit by bit, little by little, I'm getting concerned. My hand is shrinking. I understand I'm getting forced into a checkmate. It would have been easier if I had a sword. Die! A dagger approaches. It cannot be helped. This isn't an opponent I can win cleanly. I immediately decided so and prepared to throw away my left hand. North God style mystery! Swallow! The dagger cut off a few fingers of my left hand, but at the same time my left hand passed by the dagger. The butler's fist shattered and the dagger fell to the floor. A counter technique that crushes the opponent's fist at the expense of one's fingers. That is, swallow. For those who don't expect the counter, the moment you think you've cut off their finger, you'll suddenly find your fist shattered. Only those familiar with North God style could hope to counter it. In fact, the butler's posture had collapsed, exposing his body unprotected. What? This is it! I striked true, stepping down toward the butler with all of my strength in my right hand. Moonlight Serenade! The butler tried to evade, but Serenade is an unavoidable special move. It's impossible. I punched through the butler's torso. The butler was blown away, bounced off of the ceiling, and dropped to the ground. I did not kill him. The ally of justice defeats evil, but never kills. Hate evil, but not evildoers. Now, I looked towards the shivering, fat nobleman. Looking toward me and his fallen butler, the fat nobleman looked stunned. You idiot! Get ready. Hearing me, the fat nobleman gazed back. If you kill me, those families I lent money to will go bankrupt. Then that girl's house will be in ruin. No one can be happy. Please, reconsider. I point a fist at the fat nobleman. Certainly, even if I beat down this nobleman, the girl's tears will not stop. Yet, that is also justice. I won't kill you, but do reflect on what happened. Stop trampling on the lives of innocent girls. I held my fists at my waist and readied the serenade pose. Let me explain. Moonlight Serenade is a deadly straight punch with my entire weight, and when released, it's unavoidable. One punch that destroys all evil. Just then, wait! Suddenly a voice resounded in the room. I stopped moving and turned to the one who immediately spoke. A window, an open window. There was a weird guy sitting there. Muscular body, black clothes. He had a helmet on his head. A rugged black helmet. The forehead of the helmet was marked with a yellow, lightning-like mark. Who? He immediately laughed. Who am I? A ray of light falling in the darkness. They call me Lightning. A familiar voice. Hearing that simple intro, I knew who it was in an instant, but I couldn't understand why he was here, dressing like that, and identified himself as such. What was that? A ray of light falling in the darkness. They call me Lightning. He introduced himself a second time. He did easily what I felt too embarrassed to do. No, I mean, why here of all places? Lightning! A third time, full of confidence. Apparently he had no intention of answering seriously. Are you an ally of his? It was the fat noble who shouted. He stood up in a hurry and tried to escape from this place, but Lightning stopped him with his hand. Just don't move, sit down and watch. Power in his gestures. You don't know what might happen to you if you fail to listen, that strength says. Huh? Oh. The fat nobleman sat back on the chair unhappily. After seeing it, Lightning turned to me. You're the justice that's been rampaging around here recently. Moon Knight? I've been letting it go until now, but if you disturb us, I'm not so merciful. Who are us? We are the secret society of evil, Shadow Corps. Shadow? No, wait, hold on. I'm confused. There wasn't such a thing until now. There doesn't seem to be a connecting story. What's he talking about? I don't get it at all. What is Shadow Corps? When was I in their way? Be quiet! Lightning shouted, and at the same time kicked off the windowsill. I responded immediately. At a reaction speed even impressive for me, I punched at the approaching Lightning. Moonlight punch! Lightning kick! But Lightning was faster. My fist and Lightning's fist hit each other. He said kick, but punched instead. My fists shattered and broke. The fist, already missing fingers, broke even further at the wrist and protruded at a strange angle. Pain coursed through my body. This level of pain I could endure, but my whole fist was crushed and my upper body was in midair. I could see lightning making a pose. Ha! Lightning kick! Lightning kick! Lightning, lightning, lightning punch! 5 straight shots from lightning landed on my body. 4 punches and 1 kick. All of those shots landed on my vulnerable points. I was blown away and smashed into a thick brick wall. The impact punched through the brick wall with ease, and I landed outside. A momentary floating feeling. I smashed the ground from the 2nd floor. I stood up quickly after spitting blood clots from my lips. I applied healing magic to my whole body and prepared for the pursuit, but there was no pursuit. Confused, I looked up at the mansion. He was looking down from above. "Was that it, Moon Knight? You can't defeat me. I'll let you go for today, so go back and practice some more." Surely I couldn't beat him today. I knew it better than anyone. I had no way of breaking through him to that fat nobleman. Additionally, the surroundings had become rowdy. After hearing the commotion, his other escorts began surrounding to seize me. If I stay here, I would be surrounded. Numbers weren't the problem. The problem was that these people were mere recent hires. In other words, they're innocent civilians. I can't fight them. I ran away from the spot. It was the first defeat for justice. After that, I continued to flee, racing through the noble district, through the markets, circled the warehouse streets, shaking any tail I might have had, and returned to the secret base. Well, I took off my helmet and took a breath. I looked at my cut-off fingers. I walked up to the wooden box in one corner of the secret base and took a piece of paper out of it. A scroll of healing magic. The healing magic that I could use is only up to the advanced level, but the advanced level cannot cure lost body parts, so I need scrolls instead. When the scroll was applied to the affected area and magic poured in, the fingers grew back in a flash. It has been a long time since I had to cure a wound this way. When I was training with Shisho, injuries like this were more common. And the one who comes to mind was the masked man who appeared in the end. Lightning. Who are you? Those words I won't say, because I knew his identity. North God style martial arts, even better trained than me. Stronger, faster. There's no more than a dozen in the world that fit that description. In addition, a simple naming sense. Lightning. No doubt. His real identity is vassal of the dragon god Orsted, a colleague of my father Rudeus Greyrat, head of the North God school, North God Kalman III, Alexander Ryback, my Shisho.